This book describes the history and properties of the Amulet of Kings, the crown jewel of the emperors of Cyrodiil, and representation of man's favor from the divines. In the first years of the First Era, a powerful race of elves called the Aelides, or the Heartland High Elves, ruled central Tamriel with an iron hand. The high and haughty Aelids relied on the patrons, the treacherous Daedra lords, to provide armies of Daedra with dead spirits. With these fearless magical armies, the Aelids preyed without mercy upon the young races of men, slaughtering or enslaving them at their whim. The reason why human societies in Tamriel are so anti-Daedra likely stemmed from the abuse suffered by the Needs under the Aelids at this time. On behalf of the suffering human races, Saint Alessia, the first in the line of Cyrodiils, sought the aid of Akatosh, the dragon god of time, and the ruler of the noble Aedra. Akatosh, looking with pity upon the plight of men, drew precious blood from his own heart, and blessed Saint Alessia with this blood of dragons, and made a covenant that so long as Alessia's generations were true to the dragon blood, Akatosh would endeavor to seal tight the gates of oblivion, and to deny the armies of Daedra and undead to their enemies, the Daedra-loving Aelids. In token of this covenant, Akatosh gave to Alessia and her descendants the Amulet of Kings and the eternal dragon fires of the imperial city. Thus does Alessia become the first gem in the Cyrodiilic Amulet of Kings. The gem is the red diamond in the middle of the amulet. This is the symbol of the Empire and later taken as the symbol of the Septim line. It is surrounded by 8 other gems, one for each of the divines. It is interesting that the Amulet of Kings bears 9 total gems, with the largest at the center being representative of Tiber Septim, as the amulet was created during the First Era. Is it possible that Tiber's ascension to godhood made this so? Or maybe the divines knew that a 9th member would join them. So long as the Empire shall maintain its worship of Akatosh and his kin, and so long as Alessia's heirs shall bear the Amulet of Kings, Akatosh and his divine kin maintain a strong barrier between Tamriel and oblivion, so that mortal man need never again fear the devastating summoned hosts of the Daedra lords. This seems to suggest that all the bearers of the Amulet of Kings must be descendants of Alessia. We know that Riemann Cyrodiil is sort of the heir to Alessia, as he is alleged to have been conceived by King Hrul and the ghostly aspect of Alessair at Sancrator. But does this then mean that Tiber Septim must be of Alessia as well? We have no record of his ancestry, and there are several conflicting accounts regarding his very heritage. If descended from Alessia, this would discredit the notion that Tiber Septim was born in and came from Atmora, and give evidence to the theory of his heritage lying in High Rock. We know that Alessian blood does not exclusively account for an individual's dragon blood, as evidenced by the existence of Mirok, but the possibility of Tiber Septim being a descendant of Alessia cannot be ruled out. But if the Empire should slacken in its dedication to the 9 divines, or if the blood of Alessia's heirs should fail, then shall the barriers between Tamriel and the Daedra realms fall, and Daedra worshippers might summon lesser Daedra and undead spirits to trouble the races of men. There have been many examples of the absence of this pact of Akatosh throughout history. The 2 most notable examples are such: the ending of Raymond's line during the Second Era, and following the assassination of Uriel Septim VII in Third Era 433. The end of the Riemann emperors would have vast consequences during the Second Era, as the result of having no dragon blood emperor on the throne would lead to the events of Molag Bal's attempted plane meld, and subsequent invasion of Nirn. The second example, the assassination of Uriel Septim, would result in the invasion of Nirn by Mirun's Dagon in the Oblivion Crisis. Both are examples of the extreme risk posed by the absence of a dragon blood emperor, so even as an elf supremacist myself, I have to admit the utility here. Thankfully, it would seem that the Amulet of Kings and a Dragonborn Emperor are no longer needed to keep the dirty Daedra from invading our home. The events of the Oblivion Crisis lead to the ascension of Martin Septim as an aspect of Akatosh, and the destruction of the Amulet of Kings. This seemingly resulted in the Pact of Akatosh establishing itself permanently, with no need for fulfillment of the aforementioned conditions. Please let me know your thoughts on this new introduced format, and thank you for listening.